How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the first ever post game show that the Celtics Talk Weekly are doing. I'm your host, Rob, and I'm here with my co host, Justin. And we're fresh off a Boston Celtics 132-96 victory against the Orlando Magic. Kemba Walker led the way with 32 points. He's getting right back into it. Walker scored 32 in pretty much three quarters, did not play much of the fourth, played 28 total minutes. Jason Tatum tacked on 27 points to help the Boston Celtics win in a fashion against the Orlando Magic. Justin, what do you got to say about this?
I didn't think it would be 132-96. I knew the Orlando Magic were missing players. I didn't know that it would be a 34-point win or a 36-point blowout win. First and foremost, Kemba Walker, I'm sure we'll get into him. 32 points. My first quarter notes, he scored 12 of Boston's 15 in the first quarter. In the first quarter. That's absolutely insane. Kemba Walker, who's been back and forth with the oblique injury to the knee injury. So 32 points for him, 12 in the first quarter. That's huge. He shot 11 of 18, which was super efficient, and 6 of 9 from deep. So that's great to see, Rob.
Yeah, that was a much needed win. I think on the road against a struggling Magic team, especially with that Thunder loss the other week. No Jaylen Brown, no Tristan Thompson, but I got to give credit. For the first time, really all year, they came in and they got the job done. They came in. The bench played well. Fournier finally getting back into it. So it was a great win. It was against a bad team, but it definitely feels good to see the Celtics team starting to pick up some more wins.
And it was a must win. I mean, we come in against these teams who are either sub 500 or below, and the Celtics ultimately dog it. I mean, we've had 2 losses against the Detroit Pistons this year. We've had some terrible losses to the Chicago Bulls. So it was very good for it was extremely, extremely good to see the Celtics come in and just dominate for 48 minutes. It was just straight domination. I don't think we see that too often with the Celtics where they dominate for a full 48 minutes. We saw that Friday night with the San Antonio Spurs, although we came back and we played a good 24 minutes of basketball in the second half. The first half was non-existent. So I'd say the Celtics played as close to a 48-minute basketball game that we've seen all season. I know it's not saying too much because it was against the Orlando Magic, who now have the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, but a huge confidence booster for the bench guys who played pretty well tonight.
No, yeah, totally, 100%. And something I noticed is I know he's usually a bench guy, but it was Evan Fournier. I mean, Evan Fournier came out there and he's starting to look like he's getting some fresh legs, as you see here. He came out and said how it feels like he's playing with a concussion, and obviously COVID has definitely gotten some of these guys around the leagues, gotten the best of them. But I think Fournier, we're starting to finally see him come off and become that 15 plus, like what we expected off the bench, and it's super exciting to see 18 plus in the past two. It's very much needed out of Evan Fournier. And that's not even getting into the Neesmith and Pritchard, who are continuously coming off the bench and making difference.
And I said this in the last podcast episode this week. When players like Fournier and Neesmith hit their first shot, the game just slows down for them, right? So the past 2 games for Fournier, he hit his first 2 shots. Whether they're open or contested, hitting a first shot is always a huge confidence booster, especially if you're in a slump. He had 21 points on Sunday against the Trailblazers. Obviously, what do you have? What did he have tonight? 16?
18 tonight. Fournier?
18 tonight. Yeah, so again, that's huge. And I think that's so big to get guys like Evan Fournier in where he's ultimately struggling, right? I mean, he missed 9 games where he was averaging, I believe it was 21 points a game in those 3 games he had when he first came to Boston. Then he sat out 9 games. COVID kicked his butt. Then he comes back, has a terrible stretch. He shot what was it, 4 of 21 from deep? That's horrid. So for him to come out these last two games, that's been so refreshing to see, especially with the Celtics struggling.
Yeah, and something I want to say that I think was I noticed, and I don't know what you think about this, but something a reoccurring you know theme I've been seeing throughout the season is when Kemba Walker gets that two and up day rest
Yep.
coming off of, whether it's he sat a game or, the Celtics have a 2 day break, he comes out and he plays really good basketball. I mean, we saw it against the Phoenix Suns. He had a 2 day break and then he comes out and he scores 30 plus. Here,
Yeah.
he's missed the past 4 games. He's getting back into the groove of things, and he comes out and scores 32 points in only 28 minutes. I mean, if he's playing a full 36, 38-minute basketball game, that's a 40-point game. And if Kemba Walker can consistently stay healthy and can consistently, give us that efficiency,
Yep.
this Celtics offense, defense is another thing, but this Celtics offense can become really, really dangerous.
And I agree. And like you said, that's if he plays. It's a little frustrating when he doesn't play, in the sense of I don't think he's dogging it. I just think it's very frustrating. I mean, I watched that Charlotte game. He landed awkwardly on that leg, and he did something to his oblique. I think he grabbed it right away. Said, "Coach, I'm done." He came back earlier. He just wasn't the same. Had to sit out a few games. How much mentally do you think that goes towards Kemba Walker? I mean, especially all season long, Rob, where he's been battling this knee. He finally comes back. He gets put on a minute restriction. He finally gets the minute restriction lifted, then does this to his oblique. And it's just a huge back and forth for him. How does that affect him mentally?
Well, something I've noticed is Kemba's always usually a very happy guy, right? When he's always out
Yeah.
there, either we're up by 30 or we're down by 30, he's always got that smile on his face. So, I obviously do think it's really important for Kemba to, get in the right mindset. But, you can tell he looks frustrated out there when, whether it's Brad taking him out when he doesn't want to be taken out, whether
Yeah.
it's, him on the bench where he knows and he wants to be out there playing basketball, doing what he loves, and he just can't. So, obviously, very shaky season. But with that being said, there's some time for him to rest up here. Obviously, we got to get out of the playing game. So, ideally, he
Mm-hmm.
won't be resting. But there's some time for him to, maybe get his groove of things going into the playoffs. And a 32-point night, on the road is a great confidence booster for Kemba Walker to get back into the swing of things.
And what I think makes it even better for Kemba Walker is the fact that he's winning ultimately. Like the 32-point game he had against Phoenix, he won. The 32-point game he had tonight in Orlando, he crushed it. Right. So I think that's pretty huge. There was a couple games last year where Kemba had 30, maybe even 40-point games, and they lost. And that sucks because guess what? At the end of the game, he's getting asked all these questions. Hey, you scored 40 points. How's that? Well, we lost the game, so why does it matter? You know what I mean? So in this case, he can finally smile and be happy. Like, I did this and we're winning. We're finally winning.
Well, and that brings us to an interesting point because originally when Kemba Walker was brought here, it was under the assumption that he was going to be the main guy. But, now that brings us to Jason Tatum, who's been playing at an absolute different level. I mean, he's averaging 38.7 points per game over the last 5 games. He had that 60-point performance in the comeback win against the Spurs. So, Jason Tatum now, as we're seeing, is this guy is becoming, this is now the guy who's scoring 40 points in those Celtics losses.
Yeah.
So, going back to Kemba Walker, it's just crazy to see how we signed this man really to be our first or second scoring option. And he's kind of, dropped down to that third guy who's, scoring for us.
And it's kind of nuts to watch Tatum play. Like, the game slowed down for him in his rookie season, right? How old is he? Is he 22? He's going to be 23, right?
Jason Tatum's 23, yeah.
Imagine that, right? And did you see, I don't know if you saw that shot. He just absolutely crossed up old friend Mo Wagner in the corner and hit that fadeaway
Yeah.
How do you stop that? How do you end that? And Jason Tatum, you know what I think he has going for him? how versatile he is. Do you see how long his arms are and how long his legs are? And he just does what he wants. He plays with such flow. It's like his whole body's just relaxed ultimately. 27 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals, 10 of 22 from the field. He did a little bit of everything. Actually, a lot of bit of everything. 2 steals and 2 blocks. That's a lot of defense played tonight.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Jason Tatum, and as much as I love seeing Jason Tatum play defense, at the same time, in games like these, I love how we won in blowout fashion because there's been
Mm-hmm.
times where, like, take example for the Lakers, right? Those are on the road. There's some games throughout the season where you just need your stars to be benched for the fourth quarter. We get guys like Taco and Tremont Waters and Grant Williams out there who are just the guys to eat up minutes, get them some exposure, and get the starters to rest. And tonight we finally got to do that because I am not trying to see Jason Tatum play any type of defense in the fourth quarter against the Orlando Magic.
And I know the Orlando Magic and the Lakers are two different teams, but we saw this earlier this season where the Celtics had a 26-point lead in the fourth quarter, and they ultimately had to blew it. They had to put back in Tatum, Brown. I don't know if Walker played that game, but all the starters had to go back in. And that's nothing you want to see, like you said, especially against a rebuilding Orlando Magic team who's already eliminated from the playoffs. And with Jason Tatum bruising up that shin with Jaylen Brown, you definitely don't want to see him in, as well as Kemba Walker coming in with that oblique injury.
Yeah, and hopefully Jaylen Brown will be back in the lineup. He is listed as day-to-day with an ankle sprain.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it is an ankle sprain. It was the lower leg area. A scary moment if you saw that against the Portland Trailblazers.
At the end of exactly. I mean,
you never want to see players get injured, Rob. But to see your two best players, ultimately, like more importantly,
on the same play, on the exact same play. Yeah,
it sucks. And just really quick, standings update. With this win tonight, the Celtics improved to 35-31. They will tie with the Miami Heat for the 6th spot. Boston does have the tiebreaker. We'll get into this a little bit later, but the Celtics have 2 games left against the Miami Heat this season, both at the TD Garden, 2 of the probably biggest games of the season. 2 wins there will keep them out of the play-in tournament most likely. And the New York Knicks, it's early, Rob, but the New York Knicks are down 17-6 against the Denver Nuggets in Denver on the road, playing with oxygen has been a problem in Denver with the high elevation. So I'm not saying it's over early. I'm not going to say that at all because it's 11. An 11-point lead is nothing in the NBA. But to climb back into the game, if you get out early, it's very tough to climb back into the game in Denver.
Well, hear me out now. Now I said this on, I believe it was episode 3 of the podcast of regarding the New York Knicks, and obviously the Knicks have had a fantastic season, right?
Yeah.
Like seeing the Knicks and how hard they play every single night it's honestly great because as much as us Celtics fans don't like Knicks fans, winning basketball in New York is awesome to see. So I commend the New York Knicks for the season. I mean, they've made it so that their market is finally set up again. Free agents are going to want to go there. Randall's turned into a star, right?
Yeah.
But something I said and noticed was they've had a big time stretch where they're playing these, not easy, right? But these middle of the pack teams where when a team like the Knicks who play really, really hard throughout the regular season, it's going to be easier for them to catch those wins. But, they're closing out on their last 7 games and they're playing teams like the Denver Nuggets, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Celtics. These last 6 games for them are all against playoff teams. So, it's time for the Boston Celtics to buckle up and just take advantage of this remotely easy schedule they have. I mean, we've really seen it throughout this season. The Boston Celtics have not taken advantage of the moments they've been in. And I think this win is a decent start to, what to hopefully is a great close to the season.
And I know some Celtics fans might say like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's the Orlando Magic. But if we were to lose this game against the Orlando Magic people, it would be the biggest deal in the world. So I commend the Celtics for coming out to play shorthanded. No Tristan Thompson, no Romeo Langford last second, no Jaylen Brown. So Celtics to pull a 36-point victory on the road after 2 days off and a 10-point loss against the Trailblazers. That's huge. You got Chicago coming up Friday. And then we get Chicago, then the 2 games against Miami, then Cleveland, then Minnesota, and then the Knicks. Ultimately, I can easily see the Celtics going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0. But again, like I said on the podcast, knowing the Boston Celtics, a 6-0 week could be an 0-6 week.
Yeah.
And I don't think, Rob, that we're going to rest players this year with the shortened season, the play-in tournament.
Yeah, the thing is, and we've been talking about this off camera a lot. This Boston Celtics have dug themselves into a hole that they've never been in the past 6 years of Celtics basketball. Past 6 years, they've had the luxury of resting their players the last week of the regular season. The game plan, because they kind of know who they're going to be playing. The starters can game plan, get prepared, get the rest needed, get shots up, into the playoffs. Right now, the Boston Celtics are currently sitting at the 7th seed, tied for 6 with the Heat. They played the Miami Heat twice and the Knicks once. Now, those are 3 games that potentially decide where they end up in the standings. And obviously, this year with the play-in game, it really is going to make it these games are going to be a lot of pressure behind them. So the Boston Celtics will not be resting starters, and they potentially might have to play for a game to save their season in the play-in game. So, they've really dug themselves into a hole. And, obviously it's nowhere close to being done. If, say we go 6-0 in this last week, we go to 41-31 throughout the season. Not a terrible record, obviously not great by any means, but for as up and down it was, as a Celtics fan, that's something you can live with. So, with the Boston Celtics, there's 6 very, very winnable games, right? You're probably going to split them with Miami, if I had to guess. They're both at home, so I'd prefer not to, but you're probably going to split them.
Splitting would be okay, because the Celtics currently are 1-0 against the Heat. So even if you split, you win that season series. And now, you're battling with Miami. Right? We're tied with Miami. We own the tiebreaker. So splitting would be crucial. I'd be 100% okay with splitting with the Heat.
No, yeah. And, I say that splitting with Miami obviously is a win in terms of standings with Miami, but I'm also I'd prefer not to play the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. Yeah. So, we're currently 35-31. The Hawks are 36-30. So we're a game back from Atlanta. Atlanta's schedule right now, they have 9 games left. They play Phoenix, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Spurs, oh, wait, that's the Knicks. My bad. I read off the Knicks. The Hornets, who have 8 games left, play the Pacers, the Wizards twice, the Magic, and the Rockets. So those are all, the Wizards twice, well, they'll probably split that, but those are all really winnable games for the Atlanta Hawks. And right now they currently trail 89-80 against the Phoenix Suns. So, we will see how the season plays out for Boston, but they really can't have that mentality of let's just split, because they don't have that luxury.
Yeah, I agree. I want to ask you, who do you think has legitimately solidified a spot on the bench in the playoffs? Like, Brad Stevens has been known to run 9, maybe 10 men rotations in the playoffs. Yeah. He doesn't go deep. So and you see guys like go ahead.
So I see, my bad, I kind of interrupted.
No, you're fine. No.
So right now I see the starting 5 as Kemba, Smart, Tatum, Brown, and Rob Will. Mm-hmm. Right? Hopefully Rob Will is in the starting lineup, because he really should be. With that being said, though, off the bench, Tristan Thompson, who's going to be huge for us in the playoffs. Peyton Pritchard, who's earned his minutes as the backup point guard. I see Fournier, and then I see Nesmith. Yeah, that's 4 guys, right? So, and I know how much you love Aaron Nesmith. So I really think Nesmith, he's been playing great. He had an amazing game today against the Magic.
Can I just mention, he played 21 minutes and took 3 shots?
Yeah.
He didn't get that many touches tonight. I was a bit surprised. I was expecting Nesmith to have a hell of a game. It turned out to be Pritchard off the bench, but
quite frankly, I'm okay with Aaron Nesmith only shooting 3 shots against the Orlando Magic, because if you look at the games where they're playing games where they're playing the San Antonio Spurs in an overtime game, he's putting up 16 on a
Yeah.
good defense and high percentage shots. So he's
Hmm.
proven over these past couple 5 games that he can be in that moment, and that he can, you know, that he can play playoff basketball. So it'll be interesting for sure. I think you might here and there see Jabari Parker thrown in there. Maybe some Semi Ojeleye, obviously, because Brad Stevens really is a matchup based coach. I think if you're playing the Milwaukee Bucks first round, you see a lot of Semi Ojeleye and a lot less of a guy like Aaron Nesmith.
Yeah.
But if you're playing a team like the Hawks, I think you see a lot more of Aaron Nesmith to bring that, fast paced 3-and-D style of play.
And I just want to say something because this might kind of shock everyone. But if the Celtics go and they play Philadelphia, do not be surprised if Taco Fall gets some minutes. Because listen,
I don't know.
Robert Williams had a very tough time containing Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid is a
All right, but
completely
we didn't
different
have
breed.
Tristan Thompson. We didn't have Tristan Thompson in that last game.
Do you think Tristan Thompson will exceed in the playoffs? And that's against every team though, because he's had a
Yes.
very, very
Yes.
shaky season.
And
Just
hear me
like
out.
Kemba.
Hear me out. My whole thing with how much I love the Tristan Thompson signing was not for the regular season. I had very low expectations in the regular season for Tristan Thompson because he's kind of an old vet, at this stage of his career. I believe he's 30, like probably 30, 31, which is, a little bit on the older half of your career. He's been to the finals, 3 times with the Cavs.
Yeah. Won
once in what is probably the most historic finals win in NBA history. So I wasn't expecting a great regular season from Thompson. Why I was so excited for Thompson was because what he's going to do for us in the playoffs. The man is going to bring some intensity, bring that defense, and obviously you can't stop Joel Embiid by any means, but I think Thompson's the type of guy where you can throw on him and he can aggravate him.
Do you remember back in the 2017 playoffs when Marcus Morris got the and-1 and him and
He
Tristan was
screamed right
sitting and
in
he
Tristan's
screamed
face.
that
Yeah.
that is gonna. I feel like that will happen. Tristan's like, okay, now I'm reversed, and now I'm gonna scream in your face.
Yeah.
And you have to think also with Tristan's experience, just like you said, historic 3-1 comeback. He had his back against the wall. Obviously, he had guys like LeBron James. Like, I'm not trying to make it sound like Thompson's the reason why they won, but he's been in the worst possible situation. Down 3-1. Not one team has ever come back from that. And then boom, they're back in it. Like to have a guy who's been against everything in the NBA finals and then come out and win it, that's huge.
Yeah, and that's why I love Thompson is, we were kind of lacking that. I think, the something that made the Heat team last year so great in the bubble was they all played with like that little chip on their shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were all super, super aggressive, all, played with, with that just that chip, right? Like I said before. And I think Thompson, because that's something I've seen Tatum and Brown kind of lean away from, I think, since their rookie season, since that playoff run. They haven't really played with that same, like, I'm going to prove you wrong mentality, that same type of way that Smart plays. So I think by getting Thompson into this swing of things, it's kind of going to add another chip, and I think Pritchard and Nesmith are going to do a great job this playoff run at, coming in and just playing with that chip on their shoulder. So, we'll see, but, I love the Tristan Thompson signing for the playoffs. I really do.
And we kind of talked about on the recent podcast how the TD Garden's going to be adding 25 plus more % fans in the arena. That could possibly be more come playoff time. That's going to be huge. And I want to mention it because guys like Pritchard and Nesmith and even Ojeleye, they get really hyped up. Their game can completely change with the fans' reaction, right? I mean, if Nesmith hits a 3 in the playoffs and the crowd goes nuts, Aaron Nesmith can get in it, like lock into his zone. I think of Pritchard. Pritchard shoots Steph Curry shots and he drains them, no problem. Like imagine that in the playoffs and Ojeleye locking up either Embiid or who's he? Giannis.
The Giannis
locking
stopper.
up Giannis. Like imagine that. Like fans do so much that people don't understand. Like that could be huge towards a player's career, a
Well,
rotational player.
and that brings us to another like concern though, because these are rookies or guys who really haven't played in loud arenas yet in the
Yeah,
NBA. So if you throw them into that loud arena in the playoffs, it's going to be a different atmosphere. I mean, I've been to many Celtics playoff games when it's pre-COVID, and the Garden is just electric. I mean, it's
yeah.
so loud. You can't even hear yourself think. So, I'm interested to see 25% capacity is right around 5,000 fans. That's a good amount. I mean, we both been to games this year. Double the noise it's gonna be a fun environment for sure.
Especially if we play like a rival like Philly or New York. And that
Yeah,
right there, like you said, it's very hard to go into an arena and play like that. But that would be like, imagine Celtics possibly will play the Knicks first round. It's a good chance if we get that fifth seed, fourth or fifth seed. Think of that. We go to New York, who's one of the most storied fan bases. And then if we go to the second round and we play Philly somehow, imagine that. Like, imagine those two fan bases on the road back to
yeah,
back. That'd be
yeah.
that'd be like
I would
nuts.
love that, and then we can see our old friend Kyrie in the Eastern Conference Finals, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, it would be a
I
great
hope
path.
not. I hope
I
not.
hope not. Yeah. And they got to get healthy for sure. But I honestly hope we don't see the Knicks in the playoffs. And I know that's a hot
Yeah, I
take. I
know.
think a lot of
Yeah,
people want to
no,
see the
I
Knicks,
agree.
but I think one of the biggest Celtics problems this year is just like playing with that intensity. And I think the
Mhm.
Knicks could just come out and just. I mean, obviously, we just beat them 101-99 the 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
but they're not really experienced. They have D Rose, who's kind of been there, arguably.
But they're
But
10 games over 500.
are they really 10 games
They're
over?
well 9. If they continue to keep the lead tonight over Phoenix in the fourth quarter, they will be or
No,
if
New
they
York's
beat
losing 34-12 right
yeah,
now
that's crazy. If they beat
at the end of
Denver, I
one.
meant. If they beat Denver tonight, they will be 10 games over 500. How nuts is
Yes.
that?
So and that's another thing. That 4 seed's really looking less and less likely. It's a push for that 5 seed.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's possible to get the 4th seed, but I'm just saying like you and me sitting here 3 months ago, if you were to tell me the Knicks would be 10 games over 500 in the 4th
Oh
seed above
no.
the Boston Celtics, I'd call you nuts.
Yeah. No,
And
yeah.
I think Coach Tibbs, former Celtic champion, I think he is in conversation for Coach of the Year. He's completely changed that. Remember the old
Well,
triangle? The triangle
well,
offense?
yeah,
That
I
didn't
know.
work.
Oh,
That was
it was a
horrid.
mess. And
That's why they won, what, 30 games in the last 3 seasons? That's horrid.
And I think the best part about the Knicks, and I mean, we're really talking about the Knicks on a Celtics post game show, but why not? But I think the best part about the Knicks, I said it, is just their defense. First of all, they're all young, right? They're all playing like they got something to prove, and I love that. I just think that's literally how basketball should be played.
Yeah.
And then they're just a team that just gets stops, right? They have that mentality of just get a stop. The offense will come, just get a stop. And those the best defensive teams in the league play with that. I mean, look at the Jazz. The Jazz, they do two things really. That's why I love Quinn Snyder. They do two things really well. They play fantastic defense and they move the ball around
Yep.
beautifully. And the Knicks
Yep.
do the same thing.
I think you can even throw the Spurs in there. They've been doing that for years.
Oh yeah, I mean
And
that is the Spurs' roots.
that's a huge reason as to why they had a 32-point lead because their ball movement
Yeah,
and their shot hitting. But I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
let's kind of you just said why are we talking about the Knicks? Let's talk about how the Knicks are down 22 at the end of the first, huh? How about that? We'll
Yeah,
trash the Knicks
I
a
know.
little bit.
I know. I know. We've been complimenting the New York Knicks, I think, way too much for this.
Yeah,
So,
so let's just graph if there's any
I
Knicks
mean,
fans listening, you're
Nikola
down 20.
Jokic has 24 first quarter points. You
Oh
heard
my
that
gosh,
correct.
he
24.
doubled the Knicks. No
24 first quarter points.
no 3-pointers. No 3.
24 points and 6 rebounds in the first quarter of action for Nikola Jokic.
He shot 10 free throws. That must be triggering. That must be
Yeah.
triggering Knicks fans right
I mean,
now.
we've seen that when we play the Philadelphia 76ers at home, the other month. I mean, it's what superstars do. I mean, Joel Embiid, just every time down the court, he just draws that foul, and it's really aggravating. I mean, I got to admit.
Yeah, I don't think I can go through a whole playoffs year. Even last year when we swept the Sixers, do you know how annoying that was? Joel Embiid at the free throw line every time. And
Yeah.
that's going to be the same thing if we play the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs. like Kyrie, Durant, and Harden.
Well, that's something I wanted to now thinking about is Jason Tatum. I feel
Mhm.
like he's been doing a better job at, you know,
Yeah.
getting to the line a lot. So
Yep.
if Tatum and people what people don't realize about free throws in, you know, in basketball games is that it just stops momentum. It's two free shots, stoppage of play for a minute and a half. It's almost like the players get to get a quick breather.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you got a guy that can get you 15 to 10 to 15 free throw attempts a game, that's just so big because it lets your team, you know, say it's a 6-0 swing, give the ball to Tatum, let him get to the line. You know, it just
Yeah.
stops the run.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I noticed that too. Jason Tatum just attacking, and I've said this on the podcast many times, Rob. Jason Tatum helps the Celtics out so much when he's not settling for threes. Like, yeah, he can hit the 3-point shot very well for a power forward or a small forward, whatever you want to call him. But when he puts his head down and attacks the basket and actually gets a foul call, that's huge for the Celtics. And the
Yeah.
Celtics would take that every single night. And the same thing goes for Marcus Smart when he's not settling for 12 threes a game. That's nuts.
Yeah, and you know, and he's done a much better job though. I commend him. Recently,
Mm-hmm.
over the past, I'd say 10 games, actually maybe more. Since we started getting on that winning streak, he's done a really good job at just slowing down, driving, attacking, getting to the free throw line, mind you, slowing the.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly mention something about tonight's game, where the past couple of days, or the past couple of games, Rob, we've been very concerned about how the Celtics start off very slow. We saw that against San Antonio, we saw that against Charlotte, and we saw that the other night against Portland. We went down 8 very early, and the Celtics actually had a 17-point lead in the first quarter, and they ended up with 39 first quarter points and 65 first half points. So how big is that for the? I know it's your Orlando Magic, but how big is that? It's got to be a huge confidence booster.
Oh yeah, it is, and that's what at the end of the day, that's what it's all about right now for the Boston Celtics going into the playoffs. You know, it's about getting out of that play-in game and just getting a sense of confidence. You know, so you can enter these playoffs and make some noise.
And yeah, that's huge. And I just want to, I don't know what, oh gosh, I'm just looking at this next score. It's 40-18. That's just horrendous.
I know. Oh my god.
That is just horrendous. I will be, as a Celtic fan, I will be livid if I wake up in the morning and I see that the Knicks pulled out a win against the Denver Nuggets. I'll be livid.
Oh yeah.
But before we wrap up, uh, I just want to go over this real quick. Once again, for the people who are just tuning in, I see we got some more viewers here. The Celtics are off tomorrow. Then they're on the road, close out this little 2-game homestand. They take on the Chicago Bulls. 7:30 tip-off, take on old friend Daniel Tyson. Zach LaVine will be back that game, which will be huge for the Bulls, who are still in position to fight for the play-in tournament.
And you know, quickly to interrupt you, I hate to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but that's a game that we should. I mean, you said it the last episode or episode 3 of the podcast. Go listen to it if you haven't. Um, You know, the Chicago Bulls, they're fighting for the playing spot. Levine's back.
Yeah.
They're gonna come out with a lot of energy, Boston. So, you know, just like they came out against the Magic, right?
Especially
They
at
were
home.
they were up what? I believe the Celtics went up 17-4 to start the game off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to do that. You capable so I know Tatum got a steal, then Kemba got a steal, and then Rob Will got a steal back to back. It was just like that. So you know you just got to keep doing that for the Celtics. Just come out and beat these teams.
And when the Bulls get going, they're very tough to stop. I've seen Kobe White go off, and once he sees a shot go through the hoop, same thing with Zach LaVine, who had a 50-point game. 39 of those points came in the first half.
Yeah.
That's like unheard of. That's crazy. And then you got Vucevic and Tice down low. That's a very dominant front court. They had a very dominant game against us. And then the Celtics actually close out their season at home. 2 games back to back. Miami Sunday at 1 p.m., which dreadful. I hate 1 p.m. starts. That's been the death of Boston this year.
We've been bad this season at 1 p.m. But you know you got to think it's on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Wait,
Go to
they play
church
Friday
before that.
too.
No, they play Friday against the Bulls, then they come
Well,
home Sunday against the Heat, and then Tuesday,
listen,
7 p.m. against the Heat.
these are the next 3 games make or break the Celtics standings, plain and simple.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like that. The next 3 games make or break the Celtics standings.
And
Because if you go into that Miami game a game back, say if we lose to Chicago, Miami gets a win up against their next game, we're a game back for Miami. Now we got to win both of those games, and beat the Knicks at the last to finish off in Madison Square Garden,
which is also an afternoon game. It says TBD. They were talking about it on NBC Sports Boston. It is an afternoon game. And then I'm hoping now all season long it's been Kemba Walker playing on the first night of a back-to-back instead of the second. I'm hoping that they continue that next week because Tuesday we have Miami, which we need him the most. And then Wednesday we travel and we're at Cleveland. Obviously, a game for us, big standings-wise, but Cleveland, another team that's rebuilding. They're out of the playoffs. And then Saturday at Minnesota, time is to be determined. And then we close out the season on the road against the Knicks, which will also be another big game. I don't think we'll catch them in the standings, but if some miracle happens, I don't think we can. But if something happens, that'd be a huge win because we would win the tiebreaker if we win Sunday. Whoever gets that game Sunday will get the tiebreaker, which could be huge.
We will be doing post-game shows for these upcoming, for the playoffs and, the remainder of the season. So, if you did enjoy this, make sure to leave a like, send some comments out. Let us know you enjoyed it so, we can keep doing them.
And leave your questions down below. Instagram, if you guys have any questions, just let us know. We'll answer them. We do have a podcast. Tell them about the podcast, Rob.
Oh, we got a podcast. It's the Celtics Talk Weekly, as you can probably tell. It is everywhere. Follow us on our social medias. The Celtics Talk Weekly on Instagram and Celtics_Weekly on Twitter. You'll catch some crazy opinions on Twitter, some hot takes on Twitter, and a lot of frustration tweets throughout the course of basketball games. But go check it out. It's on Spotify and Apple Music. I think, it's a 30-minute car ride or, car ride to work or to school, whatever it is, turn it on. I think it's a great listen. I think you guys are, I think all basketball fans will enjoy it. So give it a listen.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot of Rob and Justin if you like the post-game shows.
Yeah, if you like the post-game shows, you'll love the podcast.
Hopefully. I don't know. Hopefully.
If you're not, I don't know why you're here. Thanks for the view.
But to cap it off, huge win for the Celtics. They come back 132-96 without Jaylen Brown, Tristan Thompson. Kemba Walker goes off for 32. Tatum goes off for 27. Pritchard 14 off the bench. The Celtics get a 34-point victory, which I believe is the largest of the season. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty positive it is. So big win. Celtics next game will be Friday in Chicago, 7:30 tip-off. We will have you cover post-game live. That'd be probably right around now on Saturday or on Friday. So look forward to seeing you guys then.
100%, guys. Thanks for watching.
Tatum for his touch on the baseline. Back to Williams. Gets it back. Follow away Tatum for 2.
Big shot, Jason Tatum. That wasn't easy.
Tatum pulls it back out. Williams comes, sets the screen. Tatum for 3.
Good job by Rob Williams. Gassing him up for against that in the Charlotte game.
Tatum throws it up, banks it home, count it in a foul.
Like he became the guy, and they were all right with it. And I'm all right with it too. I'm a big fan of Pirtle.
There we go. Tatum in the paint, and he has a chance for a 3-point play.
Have to get to the paint. Passing, moving without the basketball, shot making, shot taking, clinic.
Tatum for 2.
It's not one of those things. In the NBA, you can't, especially when a team has it going, you can't sit around and hope that Tatum is going to go first.
Tatum turns the corner, takes it to the basket, gets the layup, gets it back. Neesmith. Tatum for 2 on the baseline. Brown in the paint, spins. Tatum again, and a foul. To the corner, Tatum takes it to the basket.
To the floor, Marcus Smart finds him. Spurs leave him open. Tatum makes him pay. Here he is, bringing home the Thunder.
Pirtle. Tatum a step back 3. Yes! Keeps going to the basket. Gets 2.
And he got hit.
Comes out of there. Still has the dribble, leans in, gets 2. We're tied at 122.
Tatum, 46, and he is a professional scorer.
Tatum gets some daylight. Tatum for the lead.
Now they got the 1-point lead. Jason Tatum comes off. Oh, you knew he was going to take this shot. Space, knocks it down. 49 for Jason Tatum, and he's pumped up.
Williams. Tatum.
Oh, show the muscle. Jason Tatum, strong to the rack.
Brown. Tatum takes it. Takes it!
Jason Tatum, look how confident he gets to his bag, step back, lets it go, knew right away.
This is for 60 in the game. Did not get off in time, and the Celtics come from 32 down to beat the Spurs.